Hello and welcome to Awaz News. I'm Kubra Ali and I'll be taking you through big news across Canada.
Man charged after TTC passenger struck with broken bottle in unprovoked attack. Man 36 charged in shooting at Warren restaurant lounge. Someone threw eggs at Chanterry's windows as he began his last day in the office. Doug Ford's lack of early engagement in Freedom Convoy protests troubling, reports find. Toronto Pearson expanding express security line reservations. Liberals' decision to invoke Emergencies Act was justified, Commission says.
These were the headlines and let's jump right into the details.
A man sought by police after allegedly attacking another man with a broken bottle on board a TTC subway train has been arrested. Toronto police announced on Friday the arrest in the February 12th assault, which they said was unprovoked. Police said a man on board an eastbound Line 2 subway train allegedly broke a bottle against a handrail. He then approached a passenger and allegedly struck him with the broken bottle. The victim suffered facial injuries, police said. Meanwhile, the suspect had already fled the area when police arrived. In an effort to locate him, police released last Wednesday surveillance images of the suspect. He has since been identified as 34-year-old Kyle Pekoski and charged with assault causing bodily harm, assault with a weapon, and failing to comply with the release order. He was scheduled to appear in court on Friday. More travelers who dread lengthy security lines at Toronto Pearson International Airport will have an opportunity to bypass the hold-up. On Friday, the airport announced an expansion to YYZ Express, which allows customers on select flights to reserve their security screening spot in advance. Pearson launched the reservation system back in November. Passengers are now able to book the express option between 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. in Terminal 1 and between 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. in Terminal 3. Travelers must arrive within 15 minutes of the reservation time. YYZ Express is only available for domestic and international flights at Terminal 1D gates, security screening point, and Terminal 3B and C gates. The program excluded flights departing to the United States. Either reserve a spot before your flight or when you arrive at the airport. Select the airline you're flying with, destination and flight number, along with your name, the number of the people in your group, and your contact information. Walk up to the assigned checkpoint at your reservation time and look for the virtual queue logo. Show airport staff your QR code and you are good to go through the security. The Public Order Emergency Commission said Friday the Liberal government met the very high threshold for invoking the Emergencies Act during the weeks-long Freedom Convoy protests last winter. The public inquiry also found that while the protests that blocked borders, clogged streets, and led to sharp divides in public opinion was unlike anything that country had experienced, it was not unpredictable and could have been better managed. His report, which is more than 2,000 pages, describes in painstaking detail the genesis of the protests, the response by police and different levels of government, as well as actions of the protesters, and the role social media and false information played in fueling the demonstrations. The highly anticipated document is the culmination of more than 300 hours of testimony and 9,000 documents entered into evidence during 7 weeks of hearings last fall. The inquiry heard from more than 100 witnesses, including Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and several other cabinet ministers, senior bureaucrats, protest participants, police, and City of Ottawa officials. Trudeau became the first Prime Minister to trigger the law, which allowed for temporary measures, including the regulation and prohibition of public assemblies, designation of secure places, direction to banks to freeze assets, and a ban on support for participants. It was revoked February 23rd. A 36-year-old man is facing 9 charges in connection with a shooting at restaurant lounge in Vaughan last month. York Regional Police said an early morning of January 2nd, an altercation occurred between male patrons inside Lashish Bar and Grill, which later removed to the parking lot. The sound of gunshots was shortly heard, prompting police to be called to the 4040 Steeles Avenue West Bar. When officers arrived, they located a 34-year-old woman with a non-life-threatening gunshot wound. She was taken to hospital for treatment. As a result of investigation, a suspect was arrested on Thursday. He has been identified as Osalamans Odigi. The 9 charges he is facing include attempted murder using a firearm, discharging a firearm with intent, and using a firearm while committing offense of attempted murder. A lack of engagement by Ontario Premier Doug Ford left Ottawa feeling abandoned by its provincial government during the Freedom Convoy protests, a federal report has found. The report, which was published by the Public Order Emergency Commission on Friday, also found a lack of collaboration by the Ontario government impacted jurisdictional and resourcing issues in the early days of the occupation. Protesters rolled into the capital on the weekend of January 28, 2022, blocking several roads around Parliament Hill. The Commission found that Ontario's refusal to participate in tripartite discussions with Ottawa and the federal government was based on the view that the convoy was protesting as a federal vaccine mandate on Parliament's doorstep, meaning the responsibility for resolving the situation fell largely on Trudeau's shoulders. The second reason was that it was policing matter best left to the Ontario Provincial Police. However, when protesters started impeding traffic on the Ambassador Bridge, described as Canada's busiest commercial link to the United States, Ford took action. In a February 9th phone call with Trudeau, the report found Ford expressed frustration for how the protests had been handled in Ottawa before saying the bigger concern was in Windsor. On February 14, Ford declared a state of emergency to end what he called a siege in Ottawa and Windsor. The declaration didn't change much for the protesters in Ottawa, as it provided specific legal authorities to protect international border crossings, as well as 400 series highways, airports, bridges, ports, and railways in the province.
The vast majority of people were there. My daughters are all, 3 out of 4 are with police officers. The place was packed full of police officers. And by the way, they're champions. We support them. And that's what I have to say about this, Colin.
Okay, I appreciate it, Premier. I understand that the Integrity Commissioner cleared you. The Integrity Commissioner said as much. But that process, much of it is confidential. Are you willing to waive that confidentiality in the interest of transparency so the public can see what you shared with the Integrity Commissioner and what the Integrity Commissioner said to you?
Colin, my daughter is a private citizen. I don't know what you don't understand. Colin, it was my daughter's stag. They went out, we opened the doors, the vast majority of people just walked through the backyard. It was a regular stag like you may have when your kids get older, Colin. But there has to be a point. You have to have journalistic integrity. We're talking here about Magna, we're talking about job creation, and you want to talk about a $150 stag.
Someone threw eggs at Mayor John Tory's windows as he began his last day in office on Friday morning. The incident happened just before 6:20 a.m. Tory was sitting at his desk reading a newspaper when an unidentified individual threw 3 eggs at his window, which overlooked Nathan Phillips Square. 2 eggs hit one of the glass pane windows beside Tory's desk, while another landed between the doors below them. In the footage, he glances up briefly, but then resumes reading his newspaper seconds later. Police tell CP24 that they were made aware of the egg incident and will be investigating. So far, no suspect description has been released. The incident comes after Tory's final city council meeting was repeatedly interrupted by protesters on Wednesday, some of whom were forcibly removed from council chambers by security. Tory announced his intention to resign last Friday night after disclosing that he had been involved in a relationship with a staff member. His resignation takes effect at 5 p.m. today.
Thank you for tuning in. I'm Kubra Ali. I'll see you back tomorrow, same time, same channel. Have a good night.